welcome back to another episode of Doing It for Retention, the podcast where I interview CS professionals from all walks of life to help all of us understand what is going on in the wonderful world of customer success. And I'm delighted to be joined by Marija Skobe-Pilley today, who I've known actually for quite some time now. We've even graced the stage together at the customer conference, which was fantastic in January. So thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me, Luke. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to see you running your own podcast. Woohoo! Well done. Well done. It's great.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And Marija, I don't think you need a huge introduction here because your face seems to be all over social media when it comes to customer success. And even when I check my emails, you seem to be collaborating with so many different bodies and individuals. So that's really great to see. But talk to us a little bit about you, the things you're involved in. Obviously, women in customer success, working as a fractional consultant as well for some great businesses. I'd love to understand a bit more about that.
Thank you. Yeah, sometimes it's interesting to realize where to even start from. From one hand, I'm a customer success strategist, meaning until recently I used to work in customer success in different companies, and I went kind of solo to become a fractional consultant last year or so. So part of me does customer success with customers, like it's strategy, it's team coaching, training, etc. Yeah. The second part of me is women in customer success, which is celebrating 5 years this year actually. Wow. In April. Thank you. Long story short, I started it so that I could spotlight different women in customer success and showcase them as role models for others. And it took off. And there are just so many different things that we are doing at the moment, which is not only podcast, but it's the whole hub for careers where we offer different courses and masterclasses and masterminds, etc. And then I guess the third part of me is just being Marija, kind of career and customer success coach, providing really personalized coaching and training experiences for very often either leaders in customer success or CSMs. As part of that, I also have a course that is called the Revenue CSM that I have launched a few months ago, all based on discussions and conversations about the changing nature of customer success and why revenue and revenue language is so important for it. I guess those are the three pillars of what I do.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And women in customer success is so familiar when I speak to candidates. And if I'm not kind of saying to them, if they ask me, where can I go for support, training, insights and community, it's rare that I recommend you and they say, I've never heard of that before. So it's it's not the best recommendation because you seem to be on their mind already, which is just testament to the great work that you've done. So yeah, congratulations on 5 years. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, I like to get to know guests kind of personally, and we talked about your musical past. We know that you now have a fairly, let's say, sizable fitness challenge ahead as well. So what made you sign up to the London Marathon?
Okay, firstly, as we are recording, it's Wednesday, and 3 days ago was Sunday. I was running half marathon, and I feel absolutely fine for that. Yeah. Why did I sign up for London Marathon? I was just crazy. I don't know. I think that it was one of the things that was on my lifetime bucket list. Yeah. And it's very difficult to get in. So I just did it randomly because I have some friends who signed up. So I signed up through charity and I got in. And that was such a big surprise for me. That's when amazing. I found out. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm in. Yeah. And in fairness, I didn't even tell that to many people. I'm even afraid they will kick me out because I haven't even started fundraising. That's how much I feel about it. Shall I do it or shall I not do it? But I think I'm going to do it.
Do it. We'll share a link to the fundraising as well.
Yeah, we can do it. Thank you. So you can support me in this craziness. Yeah. It's simply a huge challenge that I wanted to put for myself.
I think it's awesome.
And it helped me. Yeah, I've been running throughout the winter, which I usually don't do, but every few days I'm out and running, even if it is short run, but it just helps me a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to put some pressure on you now because there are likely going to be a lot of people that watch this and they cannot get a place on the London Marathon, so you have to do it.
Yeah, I know. I have
For
to
all
do it.
those
I will do
people.
it. 4 weeks
Yeah,
to go.
yeah. So when is it? When's the actual
It's
event?
the 27th of April.
Oh, okay. It's close. It's close. But if you're running half marathons now,
Yes,
I think a lot of it's going to be grit, surely. Like you have to have a really good level of fitness. You've got to have the right footwear, trainers, and that kind of resilience. Because that's where I fall short. My fitness isn't fantastic actually, but my feet always give up. I've got really soft feet, so I've done tough mudders, which I think they're like 10 miles, but it's stop and start. But by the end of it, my feet are just ruined. I did the Three Peaks challenge. I couldn't climb the final mountain because my toe was black. I couldn't get my shoes back on. It's quite pathetic, really. So, yeah,
It
you've got
happened
to.
to me. Yeah, it happened to me once on one half marathon. And then I changed the shoes now just a few months ago, and I feel very comfortable in them.
Yeah,
So I can't change anymore.
yeah,
That is now sorted. But yeah, it makes a difference. You wouldn't believe how just a different pair of shoes can turn your feet around during
yeah,
the race.
yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know if you've got it with you now, but I sent you a little something in the post, which, don't worry, it's not bugs.
It's not bugs. I was interested. Are you gonna let me eat bugs here?
Yeah, yeah. It's a high protein, carbohydrate rich.
Okay. So unboxing it.
So basically, this will help you with your training, and also, when it comes to the actual day of the event,
Oh,
you'll kind of know what works for your body. So you can pick some things in here.
interesting. Nutrition. Okay,
So
I think I need to show it like this.
yeah, hopefully, it's what I ordered, and this isn't one of your like personal orders.
That
Yeah,
is so wonderful and so thoughtful. Thank you so much. You know why? Because I've been using these ones and I'm having mixed feelings about it. So now I can
yeah.
start trying the other ones. Oh, this is awesome. Thank you.
I think
That's very
it's good for
thoughtful.
training, and then when you're actually doing the event, you can work out what your body responds to. Because I mean, I used to be a personal trainer many years ago,
Oh, have
and
you?
yeah, like many years ago. It's like 2009, 8, 9. I was a PT, and your body responds differently to like different carbohydrates, what you digest well, especially if you're doing like long distance running, cycling. And I did a cycle from Portsmouth to London, and I found that the gels worked really well for me. But if I had anything that was kind of too solid, I just wouldn't digest it. So like the oat bars and things, it would
Yeah,
just
yeah.
sit and make me feel quite unwell. So figure out what kind of works for you, and then you can just double down. I think there's some caffeinated stuff in there, and I would recommend not having that
No?
when you're running, when you're actually doing it, because you're going to push your heart rate up really quickly. So you don't want to kind of like push your heart rate up straight away. You kind of want to ease into it. So I'd say caffeine is like when you start to flag and you're on your last legs.
No, that's
But
great. Thank
not
you.
a
I
nutritional
really
advisor.
appreciate that. You know why? Because I was never taking care of my nutrition during running
Yeah,
until my last half marathon in September, when I got gels with me and I was like so full. I was
yeah,
packed with the whole equipment.
yeah. Did you have like the
Yes,
armbands and
yes,
things? And
everything was there, full of my water, my gels,
yeah,
and I felt like I was following advice from my husband and his
yeah,
friend, which
yeah,
was great. Like every 30 minutes, you get something, before you go depleted,
yeah,
take it in. But I started feeling a bit more dehydrated. So I've decided now a few days ago that I'm not going to use gels. And I was actually just taking little gummy bears from people when they were offering, and that was so good. Like I
yeah,
literally felt really good throughout the whole half marathon. So
yeah,
now I'm in a situation of thinking, what is next? What should I be
yeah,
trying next?
yeah. You got time, haven't you, to kind of
Yeah,
figure it out? So I think that's plenty of time, I would say.
yeah, it is for
I
sure.
would
But
say.
thank you, very thoughtful.
Pleasure, pleasure. So let's jump into the wonderful world of customer success, and we'll keep this fairly free flowing. I think there's lots of topics at the moment, and whilst it feels like a lot of them are being repeated, this is why it's important to speak to lots of different leaders because there's perspective, right? We're all kind of experiencing different things, working with different businesses, hearing different things. But what's your kind of overall view on just customer success as it stands today, and you know, the good, the bad, and the ugly, really?
I had conversations with people a few months ago about, is customer success dead? Because somehow
Was it Dave Jackson?
a similar crew. Uh, it's really interesting. So in a way, I feel privileged to have worked with different or kind of a number of different companies in the last year, rather than being connected to only one company, to see a bit better what is happening out there. There is a huge shift between since I started in customer success, when it was all about the adoption, the relationship management, usage, making sure that customers are in the product that they're using, etc.
Yeah.
Now, with again, the products are changing as well. So a few years ago, we all used to work with more maybe bigger products that were much more business critical than in reality. So many of, thousands and millions of apps that people are using today, they are not that business critical.
Yeah.
So that also changes like how business critical is your product, but also it changes how the experience is delivered. Now, less and less we are seeing, enterprise or a hugely high touch customer success. It's almost a rarity that somebody still has that role because no one can afford it much anymore.
Yeah.
So it seems that majority of the activities went into scale, meaning there's lots of digitization out there. There is lots of one-to-many motions, and all that is really good because also the way how customers interact with products changed. Again, if there is no big issue, no one ever wants to talk with a person on another side. Like, why would you? No one is paid to speak with CSMs. They're just paid to do their jobs. So there is just a bit of disruption of how CSMs still see customers and how much customers should need them, into how customers actually want to be served. But then what I was starting saying, so between previously that huge high touch one-to-one engagement, now it's going so much more into one-to-many, and the roles are changing because now it's absolutely necessary for CSMs. Like if you're speaking one-to-one to customers, you have to almost assume that role of account manager as well, and you have very often now you are responsible for targets and for upsells and cross-sells because of economics. Like companies can't afford different types of roles, like account manager and then technical account manager and customer success manager and onboarding specialist. Like very often there is no resources for 5 different people that in reality 50% of their roles might overlap. So we do see a big consolidation of roles, and working with some of my customers in the last few months, I have seen how they are trying to invent new roles, like hiring for a CSM, but like 50-50 basis. 50 is new business or sales, and 50 would be CSMs, simply because either they are changing their processes, they're changing the structure, they want to experiment with something new, and they are not sure where to bet yet until they start testing it out. So it just seems that the nice customer success role that was all about the relationship manager is completely dying for mostly economic reasons, but also the reasons of skills and the way we work with customers at the moment. Like the whole engagement is really changing.
Yeah, it's really interesting, especially when I think about the types of roles we recruit for. When we brief in on a lot of CS roles, I do often question, like, what is the difference between this CSM hire and a capable account manager? Like, what's the difference? And 9 times out of 10, there isn't really much difference at all. And I do think that there was this, again, I talk about this a lot, but there was a real rush to hire within customer success when it almost became really trendy post-COVID. Like everyone wanted it, and it became a skill shortage effectively. So salaries were massively increased. Companies were compromising what they wanted. Then we moved into this do more with less mindset. CS teams got stripped out, not just CS, like across the board. When you analyze statistics within SaaS companies, lots of departments were thinned out. But we're now in this kind of, it feels like this new world. Like you said, your customers are like trialing and trying to find out what CS looks like for them, as opposed to kind of looking outwardly and looking at, okay, we want to hire CS. What does CS look like for other businesses? And I actually don't think that's a bad position to be in, because whenever I speak to a new business about hiring for a role, yes, we take instruction, but it's really like a discovery sales call to be like, what do you actually need here? Because there's no point us just going and finding you a tick box CSM. It's like, what do you actually need to solve the problems within your organization, and then build the role around that. And I think companies have focused more on what's the challenge, what do we need to fix here? And a lot of the time there's probably a limitation in budget, because the board are kind of looking at, okay, what tech can we leverage here? What AI tools can we use to make life easier? That seems to be the focus at the moment.
But you also mentioned very fairly how at some point, just after pandemic, CS role became incredibly trendy, very sexy. Everybody wanted to hire for that role. Everybody wanted to be part of that industry. But so many of those roles were not what people think of customer success at all. Very often it was either account management already or support, or glory for support. Whoever was checking all the different job descriptions would have seen that such a huge majority of those roles were not customer success. And then after you had so much layoffs because it was difficult to prove the value of the role that maybe wasn't even supposed to be CS, now we are facing dilemma. Okay, so what is it that we actually need? As you said, that's exactly what I've seen with my customers. Some of them still think that they need to have a CSM because now it is still trendy. It is part of being a SaaS business. It is, a holy grail of getting those renewals. But on another hand, they just need people who are able to close new business, taking care of those customers and upsell them. However we want to call it. Like I think of it as a customer success methodology. It's all post-sales methodology, and how many different resources we have available. It's economic reasons, but really it's very similar between the roles.
And your point on companies, if we rewind, companies not understanding the value they're getting from CS. I think that's why it's important that people seek out that revenue understanding, like what value does customer success bring? And this, call it a free plug, but I think the fact that you're delivering a course and training on this, people should really look at that, because when I speak to a lot of CS professionals, most of the time the advice I will give them around their CV and how they present themselves, it's like, what you're doing is great, the company you work for is great, all of this stuff's fantastic, but I don't really understand what value you're delivering in the role. And I think you know what it is, but you need to understand how to communicate that, because the hiring manager now is tasked with conveying what value they're going to get from hiring someone like you. So you've got to solve that piece of the puzzle and present that information when you send your CV. And if it's not on there, then it will just raise the question. It'll probably put you in the maybe pile, because it will raise the question, does this person have commercial capability, understanding? And the problem is there's going to be a lot of people that will enter the yes pile because they've already done that. So you just don't want to run that risk when you already have that understanding. It's just about how you communicate that. And I think that's something I've definitely in the last year from speaking to lots of different people who I repeat the same names, the Rab Dalawows of the world who are very commercially aligned, etc. But that's the type of stuff that is missing a lot of the time, I think.
I think also it's very often, probably we don't educate CSMs enough on how to do it, because CS is incredibly context driven. Now, if you are in sales, you have it easy. In a way, whatever you do is quantifiable. You either hit your targets or you don't. You have numbers for every single metric, and you need to know it. Whether you are above the target, under the target, it is all very quantifiable. When you are in customer success, again, the context is hugely different. So just because you write down customer success manager and your experiences, in some company it could be very much related to training for product and educating customers. In another company it may be same as account management. Somewhere else it will be, you're just picking up all the support tickets. So just stating your responsibilities is never enough, because it is not quantifiable always. And it can mean so many different things to many different people and different hiring managers. So they can't just think beyond what you are writing in the CV and assume that, you ticked some boxes. Versus in sales, you're either responsible for bringing new logo or not. It's almost easier to put that value on the paper. And that's why, as you mentioned, it is crucial to put any numbers, number one, just to put it, and either from the book of business you're managing, regardless if you're responsible for revenue or not, but putting numbers out there is probably the first step that will get you to go from absolute no to maybe pile, which is very big deal, and it's important to know that.
Agreed. I'd love to jump into some more of the candidate and whilst we're on the almost like the CV topic, but before we do that, I'd love to understand, and I'm sure people listening to this would love to understand kind of how you are where you are today. And I think it would be great to go, I don't want to say way back, because you might take that the wrong
I'll go
way.
way back.
We'll go back a little bit. And I just want to understand how you got into customer success. Like, when did you first hear about it? And what's kind of led you to this point today?
Yeah, so I was musician all my life, part of my life, and I was studying music. Went and did amazing masters in Cambridge on creativity, arts, education, music, all of those very nice stuff.
Yeah.
And then I started somehow, as part of the program, researching business and what can art do for business. And in that research, which was incredible, I realized, I kind of like that business aspect. I never had an exposure to it, never had experience in it. How will I advise people what to do and how to do it when I don't know what it is? And little by little, I've just decided, well, I'm really very drawn to that whole idea of business, working in the company rather than just teaching or being education. And I secured my first role in a project management office of a big SaaS HR and payroll company. So I was in project management, and pretty soon I learned the craft of it. And towards the end of first year, I saw customer success manager job description somewhere. It was my very first introduction to it. And when I read that job description, I just realized, oh my gosh, tick, tick, tick. All of that is me. I am perfect for it. That's exactly what I would love to be doing. And then I started preparing myself and Googling everything that I could about customer success. And I came across Customer Success Network, and I just started really absorbing every single conversation on it. And with that project management experience, I managed to secure a role as a kind of onboarding specialist within a customer success team in a startup moving forward. And that was like the first proper exposure to customer success. And after that, I progressed into a proper CSM in another company where I was, progressing. I was being promoted, moved to companies until the opportunity came to lead the team as well. I always knew that I will be leading the team. It was just a matter of when.
Awesome.
I realized at some point that working with customers is great, but I have ideas for strategy. I wanted to move it forward, so that's how I got into the leadership position as well.
Awesome, good stuff. So, at what point did Women in Customer Success form? So, how did that come about?
So 5 years ago, I was in my very first official CSM role, and I was just learning a lot, doing the certifications, went to conferences and saw that data that soon a bit more presented about the state of gender in customer success, where the data clearly showed that even though 60% of women would enter the industry as a CSM, only 30% of those women would manage to get to director or above leadership position, which was just a huge issue. And I was just thinking about it and couldn't stop thinking about it, why, what is happening, what is the reasons. And at some point I just realized, there could be probably so many reasons, but maybe one of them is that women don't have enough role models at the top that they could learn from and that they could kind of relive their experiences. And that's how the idea of a podcast came about, where I have decided, okay, I love podcasts as a platform. I love women's networks and communities, so let me have that as a platform where I could showcase other women with their challenges and wins, etc. And that's how it all started.
What do you think about this and the fact that lids are now constantly attached to bottles? It really annoys me.
Yeah.
What a rubbish. Have you ever had like a coloured drink, like a protein drink or anything that's not water, and a little bit gets stuck in this lid,
Yeah,
and then you drink it and it ends up on your crisp white shirt?
Yeah, I probably wear crisp white shirt much less than you. But yeah, I do have a problem of not liking that. I understand it's sustainability reasons, but it's one of those annoyances. Same as, I don't know what you think about the paper straws.
Oh,
It's
well,
great for the environment, but it's the most disgusting
Yeah.
thing when you're trying to drink your
Yeah,
water from
yeah.
it and then everything starts dissolving in the drink.
Yeah. So I've just come back from a trip overseas, and every drink came with a paper straw, and I think you had about 2 or 3 sips was the ROI on that before it would just fold in half, and then you'd have to get another one. So I think overall it's probably not fantastic for the environment, the amount of straws you have to go through. Anyway, putting the world to rights here with with paper straws, and yeah. Anyway.
They could put the metal ones. At least metal ones could wash nicely, hopefully.
Yeah, I think so. Or it's just it's a bit like bring your own bag to the supermarket. Maybe you just need to. Maybe there's a company. Maybe there's an idea out there where there's lots of cool straws you can buy that are made of metal, and you just keep them on you, like a retractable straw that attaches to your keys or something. I think we've got it, Marija. I think we should cancel CS recruitment, and we've got a business idea there.
That's absolutely brilliant business idea that will look tomorrow, but we can give it a go by tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Jumping back into the candidate piece, because I think it's great for people to understand your journey first of all, because I think credibility is really important in today's market, and you've clearly worked your way through a multitude of organisations. You add a tremendous amount of value. You're a voice that people want to hear and listen to, and because you've been on that journey and because of the people you interact with, etc. I think all that's awesome. I think candidates need more voices advising them beyond the echo chamber of LinkedIn. People need to hear more of what they probably need to hear, not what they want to hear. And the most likes and follows on LinkedIn tend to be those polarizing topics that don't necessarily support the narrative that's going to, let's say, land you a job. It's kind of we understand it's frustrating and we support you type messages. But we've always been quite candid when we've had conversations, certainly around recruitment. And we'd love to kind of, get your thoughts on, how you're seeing the job market, and from a candidate perspective, what's missing when people are applying and looking for new opportunities?
I believe that I get to hear fairly a lot from candidates, because very often, especially women, just get in touch saying, "Oh, I'm looking for a job. Can you help me? Do you know somebody here? Or I'm in this and that situation." Or, "Oh, I have a title of CSM, but actually what I was doing is more of support." So there is loads of things out there. I think firstly, candidates should be a bit more open to flexibility. If they want to change jobs or even enter customer success, that's great, but a title CSM is not the only way into it. Yeah. Even although it was a few years ago, but I remember when I wanted to go into customer success, it wasn't just a straight path, just because sometimes it's impossible. You go through implementation, you go through project management, you go through maybe account management, something that you can get, and then it is still very similar position. But the market is tough, because we still have to be aware that there is loads of people with great experience that have been laid off in the recent years. So some of them are still on the market. So yeah, just being open for something new. Then people somehow think that they should be progressing a lot very quickly. And sometimes that's really a problem because they want to leave their companies after being there for 18 months, thinking there is no growth, there's no, nothing else for them, thinking that the grass is greener somewhere else. And that is not necessarily the case. So I would also say, when you're thinking about why you are moving the roles, I know there is a difference whether you're moving the roles or you're really unemployed currently, which is, of course, a different situation.
Yeah.
But there are opportunities that you should be creating for yourself, firstly, where you are, and thinking, what is it that really excites me? What are the things that this business needs? Like, there is so many things that you could probably start resolving in your own company, in your own department, before looking for something outside. And probably the whole idea of, getting better salaries as quickly as you can, all of that on LinkedIn or other social media. I know it's not great because people really feel that they should be in a role for 12 months and then just move somewhere out simply because they won't get bigger pay.
Yeah.
And the reason is that companies operate differently. It's not that no one owes you promotion after 12 months or a raise after 12 months. So I think that there is almost very modern way of thinking that is getting into recruitment process and into the minds of candidates when they are thinking of why they should be changing and into what roles they should be changing. And some of those things are not real anymore, especially after the huge, as we said, after the huge customer success industry as being a huge trend to where it is at the moment. It's not the same industry anymore, and things are not as shiny as there used to be. I think we had our little moment of glory, and it's not there anymore.
Yeah, I think it's really valid. And one thing I saw recently, actually, which it kind of validated the thoughts I've been having, and I did a panel discussion at Splunk's offices recently where we talked briefly about my predictions for recruitment over the coming years. Well, I think it was 18 months we discussed, but I think a lot of the entry level roles within customer success are going to be very hard to obtain, if at all, like even if they're there, because I think that's where technology is taking over a lot of these lower level positions. And it was kind of met with a little bit of pushback, like, oh, that's a very negative outlook. But it was more a case of, look, if you're in a role at the moment in a junior capacity, you now have a platform of opportunity to grow within your business. So you're actually in a really strong position. But my point was, to get into CS and to step into an entry level role is just becoming more and more challenging. And even I spoke to a candidate very recently, someone I've known for years. They don't have customer success experience, but they've just landed an enterprise level role because they have domain experience.
Yes.
And they've been the customer. They've used the platforms. They've actually implemented the platforms. And they were headhunted by that organization because it was like, look, we know this person. They've done a really good job with us as effectively a supplier and a user of the software, almost a partner. We need to hire this person. So I think domain experience is becoming more and more valuable to organizations. And I think that technology is going to impact individuals significantly trying to enter those lower level roles. But on the kind of candidate process and applying for jobs, we spoke a couple of years ago now, and I'm interested in whether your view has changed. But when a CV hits your inbox and you're hiring, whether it's on a consultancy basis or a prior company, how long would you spend now reviewing their profile before saying they're a yes, maybe, or a no?
It's still the same. It's still like 7 seconds.
7 seconds. If you're firm on 7 seconds.
Not that I measure, not that I count, but it
Yeah.
is still very short. I would immediately see everything that is relevant.
Yeah.
And that also means just speaking that customer success language. Because what I have noticed previously while hiring, you could have so many solid CVs in your hands and you don't know what to do with it because either somebody had, account management experience, or even solution consulting, being solution architect. It could be anything, but there is nothing that would tell me they actually want to go into customer success rather than just applying for the role. It's almost, there is no correlation, and you can assume, okay, probably they would be able to do the job well. But if your CV doesn't communicate anything customer success related, there are hundreds of others whose CV will communicate, who will have previous experience as a CSM, and they will be in advantageous position, even if you had great potential domain experience. So if you want, we can go back to that. Like, I have something to say about that domain experience as well. But in terms of CVs, it is still 7 to 10 seconds, just skimming and looking for relevant experience.
The point you've raised about sending the profile in and almost expecting the decision maker to kind of connect the dots, I think that's just learnt behavior. It's certainly not individuals being lazy. I think it's candidates who are probably used to being in the market where you apply for a job and you get tons of responses and you're actually being headhunted, and there will still be individuals in very niche roles where this happens now, and they're sat here going, yeah, nothing's changed, fine, but the market has shifted for many, but they're still going through learnt behavior. Send a CV in, oh, I'm not getting a response. That's on the company. That's not a great business to work for. It's like, okay, the key thing is, the key takeaway I always say is just make it easy for the decision maker to think, oh, I need to speak to this person. And you can build that into your CV, but there are, and again, we've gone over this many times before, and we talked about this at the customer conference, but you can almost build a cadence for follow-up where you're making sure that the message you're putting across is like, here's my experience and here's how it relates. Here's my experience, here are my results, and here's how that relates to the role you're looking to recruit for. And this is the problem that I can solve for you. So, I'd say that's my 2P's worth on that.
And you're so right. That's interesting how I've experienced it on my own example, probably not always great, how when candidates would follow up or try to understand who is hiring for the role, or when they would make sure that they come in front of your face, you would look into their CV again. Because even after you've seen them for maybe 7 seconds, you're not making great decisions immediately in those 7 seconds. Like, there's way too many CVs, and sometimes just that extra touch or trial to communicate is enough what will make somebody to actually have a look at your CV properly. And that will also showcase them that you care about that role, that you are really interested. So it's just incredible to see. I don't know if we were like that before, but now definitely doing that extra moves, trying to have conversation and to follow up after your application is incredibly important. Sometimes it's the only way of getting noticed, as well as getting referrals. I do think that's everywhere number one priority. I know for many companies that don't even look at applications, actually. They are just going through referrals, and that's how they want their future employees to be. They want them to be, peer vetted and approved by people whom they already trust. They want them to be similar. They would think they could be great employees, etc. So if you don't have referrals, try to look for it. And that also goes to, the way how you're applying. So if you're just going for the volumes and clicking, easy apply on LinkedIn for almost everything, having the same CV, you may get lucky and get few interviews, but still, probably it's much better to have a targeted approach of exact companies you would like to work at, try to build a relationship, try to get yourself through the door through the referrals.
Yeah.
And again, I know it's different. If you're unemployed, you will probably go and apply for anything because you're in a huge need. But if you're thinking of changing, then you should be incredibly strategic and taking it as a long-term, finding company that is aligned to what you like to do, what are your values. It all makes sense. Then it's much more lengthier process.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you're in a role, then you need to be strategic. You need to take your time. I'd also challenge, though, if you're not in a role, you need to. There's a great book by Jeb Blunt, Fanatical Prospecting, and it's not about applying for jobs, but one of the things he talks about is slowing down to speed up.
Oh,
And
nice concept.
I think when people are out of work, and I've been in the position when I was younger, it's very easy to think, right, the more I do, the better. So if I get lots of applications out there, it's a bit like being an SDR, isn't it? If I make lots and lots of calls, don't worry about the data, I'll just bash through calls. You might get lucky, and that strategy may work for you, depending on the quality of the work that you've done before. So if you are in a really niche role, niche domain experience, and you target those types of companies and you apply, you might secure something. But I would recommend, if you're applying for things and not hearing back now, then just slow down for a second and just review the table stakes, i.e. review your CV. Does it communicate the right message? When you apply for a job, are you personalizing it to that opportunity? Because let's say you mentioned earlier that some CS roles might be more support focused, some might be more revenue focused, some might be more training focused. So if I'm applying for a CS role that's certainly more support led, should I be talking about the revenue attribution to that, the upselling, the cross-selling, the growth of accounts? Probably not. But if you are in that role focused on support, and that might be ticket resolution, turnaround time, time to value, all that stuff, then that's probably where you lean in on, and that's your kind of highlighted experience. I wouldn't discount the commercial capability, because I think any business will value that, but it's just what you prioritize on your CV that the hiring manager is going to see quickly. Like, what do you showcase to them is like, this is what I'm about. And if you talk about something completely outside of the spec that they've advertised, which should be, and again, this is like a secondary point, a lot of companies don't really put out what they're looking for, so it's guesswork from both sides, bad actors on both parts. But I think if you can talk to the message that they're putting out there, you've got far more chance if you slow down, readdress, strategize, then start applying, than just pinging your CV out. And that would be my advice to any job seeker, whether you're in a role or not, I would say.
And probably it's easier to do it now than ever before due to ChatGPT, because you can easily I mean, you can definitely have a look at, what is the job description and put your CV and say, give me some of the examples of what is matching the job description. I'm not saying that everybody should be doing it, but it could give you ideas of at least how to really tailor your experience to what company is looking for. And as you said, yes, there will be bad examples of, the job description not even being proper and being probably copy pasted from somewhere else on the internet.
Yeah.
But at least you can make an effort to just personalize in that way to match what is being asked for.
Yeah, you're right. And that's the key. ChatGPT shouldn't replace you writing your CV. It's just to get inspiration and ideas and just to help fill in some of the gaps, and then you put it in your own words. But it will certainly help with alignment. But I would say do not use ChatGPT to write your CV.
No.
Because it's becoming more and more obvious, and that will get you in the no pile very quickly.
For me, that's a no. Like, for me, everything that is AI written is a no, even on social media. Like, as soon as you can recognize it, I'm not buying into it. I'm not old-fashioned. I support AI, all of that.
Yeah.
But no, it's just a no.
What on technology, actually, what AI have you seen that you really like, that you would champion?
I like using Claude. I like using like text to PowerPoint, text to slides, text to image, some of those different things. But am I using it a lot? Probably not. Like, when it comes as part of the tooling that I'm using, like, all of those things are cool. It's just part of it. It's fine. It's evolving. But I don't think that I am way too ahead of it. Like, I'm using those basics, but I'm not experimenting a lot. I think I should. I think that this kind of creating your custom codes and custom what else is there with AI is something worth exploring. But yeah, I'm probably there with using Claude and that text to images.
Cool.
I like text to slides. I think that can be just useful to give you some ideas of how you should go about, creating some strategy or creating things based on lots of text. It's definitely easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I haven't found something that I could say, oh, it's completely
Yeah,
transforming the
like
way I
use
work.
this. Yeah,
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 I don't think so.
yeah. I think there's a case for utilizing it for things like QBRs, just to like plug in the data and just the slides are just supporting documentation. The
Yeah.
QBR is like the relationship, isn't it? And kind of running those types of things should be more based on your relationship as opposed to here's 50 slides to sit through and just like kill
Oh, no,
everyone's
no.
attention.
I hate it. Well, I have a completely different take on QBRs and EBRs. For me, that's the main thing you should be focusing on with customers, but also thinking about how would you do it if you only have 15 minutes with that executive
Yeah.
on a coffee shop without slides at all. Like, what is actually the storyline and the message that you would convey to your main executive in a company? And no slides will help you in that.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. It's a good point. Any examples of tech where it's just really not good? I'll give you an example from my side. I saw something yesterday on LinkedIn, and it was a computer generated person. So the mouth didn't move properly, the voice was slightly different, and it was like an introduction to like signing up a new customer, and here's like an introductory kind of video to your CSM or something like that. I might be slightly out of context, but I watched that and I just hate it. It feels like a really poor attempt at personalization. It feels no better than sending like a generic email with "Hi, I'm your CSM, and this is what to expect from me." I appreciate in a more lower touch model, if you've got thousands of customers, it's going to be very difficult to be ultra personalized with everyone. But I didn't like that. That was an example I wasn't particularly impressed with.
For me, that sounds terrible for so many reasons. But I'm not a video person. Like, I would not go and like on YouTube and randomly watch shorts if so many people do or something like that. So if I
Yeah.
get a message which is like that in video, I would probably not even open it. Yeah, I would be happier with one paragraph of, yeah, I'm your CSM here. Here are your next steps. Here, this is what to do, without even thinking, do I have my headphones on? Do I need to put the volume? Like, for me, all of that video is like an extra hustle. Give me 2 sentences of what I have to do, and I'll be fine with that. But again, we all are different. But things like that is just not my cup of tea. No.
I love
Again,
this.
what's the point of a video? Like, just
Yeah.
anyway.
So you've heard it here first. Maria isn't a fan of video, but runs a podcast.
I know. Again, podcast is audio first. Okay, now there is on YouTube as well. Probably I was hesitating too much. But yeah, I personally feel when I get a message and there is video in it, it's an extra hustle. Now I need
Yeah.
to see, where am I? Can I hear it out loud? Do I need to bring my headphones? Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I guess it's part of the discovery, isn't it? It's understanding what your customer's going to like as well. And if you've got a good connection to the sales team, then you'll know fairly quickly the medium that they're going to react well to. But I guess you can't personalize that to everyone depending on the model, and there's a lot of complexities behind it. Is there anything you would say about customer success right now that would be a harsh reality for some people to hear?
I think that the maybe easy or relationship driven customer success that we loved is going away. I call it easy one. I was probably one of those lucky ones that entered customer success during the time when I could, even if I didn't have CS experience previously, when it was really focusing on relationship and adoption, and my background was suitable for that. I don't think that's the case anymore, and now we can't expect to have it like easy in a way that we are not responsible for numbers. We are, and that's the reality moving forward. Not only CS is responsible for revenue, and another harsh reality. Okay, maybe it shouldn't be that harsh, because I think CSMs are actually very well positioned to increase the revenue and sell on that value. But another harsh reality is the consolidation of roles. What we knew as CSM 2, 3 years ago, it's very likely currently either having lots of elements of sales. It's very commercial, or it may be even a bit more technical and going to that more of tech and product enablement.
Yeah.
So I just see us as like, oh, relationship, we are here to help you out throughout your journey now. Not there anymore.
Yeah.
It's very tangible.
Okay. What would you advise if you're a CSM right now? I'll rephrase this actually. So if you are a CSM right now and you've just heard that, what can you do to fortify yourself against these changes?
Well, I would advise everybody to firstly become a bit more revenue minded and revenue focused, and that's the mindset shift. It's really starting to see how are you running your book of business and where are your customers and how you can help them even better to get their ROI. Just thinking so much more in financial ways and in business way, and that's something that historically CSMs would just didn't even get training on very often. So it's just training your brain to always think about the business and business impact and number. When you speak with customers, like what is the impact on their business with your product, but also when you are managing your book of business, what is the impact of your book of business in the overall revenue? How are you growing your book of business? Are you a CEO of your book of business? Like, are you thinking strategically how you can expand and what else you should be doing with your customers? So just being open and having that shift towards it has to be quantifiable. Yeah. That's probably the first one. It has to be quantifiable. Then it's just getting you into those skills. So from one hand, I do believe that the revenue skills is number one skill that CSM will need to master, getting more of that, business acumen and consultative skills. But then on another hand, if you do like more anything to do with product or enabling customers, there's another kind of stream of going much more even technical and understanding more of use cases and being that person who would guide customers through it, which might be called differently somewhere else, might be even part of the product organization, but the options are there.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. So a slightly different question. If you could fast forward to 2027 and we're sat here again, my trainer collection will either be a lot smaller or a lot bigger. and I ask you the question, what is customer success? What do you think the answer is going to be in a couple of years' time?
It's a customer first methodology that SaaS businesses are applying to increase the contract value of their current customers and just expand them. Will it happen by then? I don't know, but I definitely think it's a mindset and it's a methodology first, only then a department. So I don't care how many companies will actually have CS as a department. I mean, it's a harsh way to say, but as long as they are adopting that methodology of having customer first and making sure customer receives value in order to grow, then we'll be fine.
Yeah. And similar question, but what roles do you think will exist in a couple of years' time that perhaps are forming now but don't quite have a place in the market?
I think that operations, like customer operations and customer marketing, which will be so much more prominent. I mean, everything that is going to scale in digital is basically customer marketing. So just knowing how to craft good communication and good copies, that will be incredibly important. Yeah. And outside that will be, the CSMs or anyone who is consultant minded, like who has those consulting skills. I think that is something that will never expire, being able to really do proper discoveries and ask good questions and understand customer business when you have a chance of having that one-to-one engagement. That will always be there. I mean, always, never say always, but
we have now, don't we, product marketing and product management positions in organizations, and I think there will start to be, and there's a good ebook on this actually by Dave Jackson, who seems to have said a lot of stuff years ago that's kind of materialized today. He'll love that plug. We talk about this more customer like architect position. So customer success, but actually someone that's leaning more into the domain experience once again and kind of understanding the real value proposition from a customer's perspective, and being able to cut out that mixed middle message between CS and product, and actually be the person who is the architect for the customer, and actually be customer centric, but also thinking about like, how do we build this, especially the more complex product, how do we build the product around the customer that we're supporting. I think again, it's customer dependent, complexity dependent, but I think there's going to be the formation of more domain heavy, like customer on-site type positions. Could be wrong, but we'll see in a couple of years. We should basically get like a little box and just put loads of ideas in there and see who got it right, and have like a little like a little raffle at the end. Prizes for...
I think both you and Dave are onto something big. I think we're starting to see already happening that shift in demand for domain expertise, because like a few years ago just CSMs were fine, but now when you have like MarTech and like when you have so many verticals in tech, those companies want to hire people who are domain expertise, because now again, even with AI, okay, everybody can follow the process, everybody can follow the playbooks or methodology that is put in the system, but domain expertise is what will have its own price.
I mean, we've seen positions where they want software development technical capability combined with customer centricity, and it's like, well, you're taking two very different people here. And this is no disrespect to software developers. I started my career in contract software development and spent many years doing it, as in recruitment, not developing. And they're quite happy to like shut the door, turn the lights off, and just crack on and code. To then put them in front of customers. But you do see individuals. I placed someone into a leadership role that used to be a developer and they're now a customer success leader. So you do see that transition. But then the type of business they've gone into is super, super complex, API first, 2 years of implementation, loads of customizable modules, really complex stuff. And seeing a little bit more of that, especially with the introduction of more AI foundations in organizations, that you're seeing the requirement for having a much more technical mindset when stepping in. So that kind of goes back to your earlier point regarding candidates and the opportunity they have in organizations. So you're in a position now where you can start to figure out some of this stuff in your organization, and there's a lot of pain in businesses where they're trying to navigate, what does CS look like for us? What's the next roles we're going to be looking to hire for? And if you can position yourself by, look, I've figured this out, I'm doing this, I'm looking at this tech could work really well for us. If you position yourself in that manner, that will accelerate your progression faster than jumping roles for more money. I think that's the mindset of a generation now, and this makes me sound quite old, but we expect everything immediately. Social media has hardwired us to get kind of immediate reactions and responses to things. If you take a little bit of time and invest in the role you're in, assuming it's not a horrendously toxic culture and there is opportunity, then do it. But don't jump for 10 grand more, because is that going to be a deal breaker? Increase your skill set in the role you're in, and you'll be jumping for 30 grand more in 5-6 years time. So just maybe think a bit more long game.
That's a nice advice, and I think you're absolutely right. Everybody who are currently within the role has a massive opportunity to really hone those skills into that domain, into expertise, because it's likely they do have some of those experts around them. I remember at some point in my career, I left one job because I felt, gosh, I'm so bored in a way. If I need to speak again with customers on that topic, like, I'm just not interested in them. It could be as an amazing software, but if I'm not into it, it wouldn't help me. So do you like that domain where you are? Like, is it marketing? Is it, is it IT? Is it our coding? Is it productivity? Is it, how cool it is for you or not? Like, can you live with it? Do you want to learn more about it? Do you ever learn about it, or you're just happy to get by? Like, think about it. And I think it's worth going for jobs in sector that you find really cool and you would like to be part of it and you would like to tell anyone, now I'm in, prop tech or whatever
Yeah.
it is that you fancy. Yeah, go for it. Like, but do it kind of for the love of it, not only for
Yeah.
10K grant more, as you said. It is a longer term game. Like, be an expert in something. I think we also have seen that shift in customer success. Everybody could just be customer success for different backgrounds. We all embrace it. It was great. But now we are going back into domain expertise. Like, you have to know a bit more now than only, how to run a QBR. Yeah, you have to know something behind it.
Yeah, no, that's great. We'll wrap up with some quick fire questions here. So very
I
quick.
thought it was all quick fire.
To be fair. Your number one book recommendation?
Okay, it's Brené Brown, anything from her. But the last one, Dare to Lead.
Dare to Lead. Okay, awesome. This is a tough one. Your number one customer success person?
Ooh. You know what? Nick Mehta is a legend.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. He's good. Little plug as always for Game Site. But like I said, I'm agnostic, so I must also put out my hat, which is the
Which one is that?
Vitally
Oh,
hat.
lovely, lovely.
Yeah.
But you know what? When you ask like the favorite customer success person, to mind can come loads of like wannabe or call it influencers that, I could agree with one day, the other day not. Everybody are just trying to create content, but who is then, who is actually living and breathing that customer success? Very often people that I meet that have no platform whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, there will be lots of those anonymous people I have worked with that I do admire just the way how they run customer success. But then in general, like Nick Mehta, yes, hats off to him. He created a category. He's still cool. Like, they're still doing innovation and new things. Like, he has a brand.
Yeah. And with Nick, he is Gainsight, but he is customer success.
Yes.
And I think that's what's
Yes.
really great. I guess the final one, is there an individual or like a source you draw most of your inspiration from outside of Nick?
Do you know what? I draw most of my inspiration and everything I do outside of customer success and business in general. Maybe Stephen Bartlett.
Yeah. Oh,
For
that's
me-
controversial at the moment, isn't it? He's quite a polarizing figure right now.
fine.
But yeah.
I'm fine with that, but I'm learning a lot through his podcast. I like the way he does the podcast and have conversations as an end user of the content. I'm benefiting a lot from
Good.
what he does.
Yeah, awesome. And I genuinely think a lot of people will benefit from hearing from you, following you. So I'll share kind of all of your details on here and encourage people to check you out on your social channels, to check out Women in Customer Success. And look, I know you get lots of inbound messages, so I don't want to encourage loads of people to message you now and ask for advice and things, because we don't want to create, Maria never gets back to us.
Just don't try to sell me, because that will never be responded to.
Awesome. But look, thank you so much for jumping on. And obviously, huge congrats for getting into the London Marathon.
Oh, gosh.
And I will be
No, I have to
cheering
do
you
it.
on. I'll be cheering you on. Make sure you share the link, and I'll put it in this. We'll sponsor you as well. So we'll certainly get some cash your way to kick off the sponsorship, and just to put a bit more added pressure on, get you closer to
Yeah.
How much you need to raise anyway?
Well, actually, I have until June to raise 2.5 grand.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not achievable. I just hesitated to put it ever out there. So that's the
That'll be
thing. Thanks
Well,
for
it's
doing
out
that on
there
my
now.
behalf. Now you'll have to put it out there.
Yeah, it's out there now. It's out there. Awesome. Look, thank you so much as always. Really good to catch up, and I'm sure we'll do lots more of these in the future.
Thanks, Luke. And congrats to
Maria.
you for a podcast. Yes, I can
Thank you so
do
much.
something new.
Thank you. Speak to you soon.
Bye.